So I recently spoke to Henry from the YouTube channel Minute Physics, and he was telling me about some of the concerns he has with the way physics is taught in high schools, particularly in the United States. He's actually now created a video letter to the newly re-elected president, and you can see that on his channel. I'll be mentioning it again later. But what I've done here at 60 Symbols is I've spoken to some of our professors. Now, as you know, these people teach at the University of Nottingham, so they have a lot of experience with physics students who've just come out of high school. And I asked them what they thought about the way physics is being taught in UK schools.
Even for those people who don't go on to physics in university, who don't go on to engineering or maths or chemistry or whatever in university, we have to teach the sciences.
I mean, I actually went back and had a look at these are my A-level notes. Most of what it is here is old stuff. All stuff that we've known for donkey's years.
Oh, look, a good.
Hey, yeah.
So this are what's called the AS and the A2, effectively the A-level examinations, and this is the curriculum. The guts of pretty exciting physics. You've got quantum physics there, you've got special relativity. For me, that looks like a reasonably good balance.
I'm very impressed with the breadth of physics that they're doing.
All this old stuff, been around for hundreds of years, rubbish, old. And then right at the end, you do some quantum theory, a tiny little bit of quantum theory.
But the downside could be that because they try to cover such a breadth of areas now, they've still only got 2 years in which to do it for their A-levels. Then they're struggling to cover things to the kind of depth that we're expecting them to be covered.
One thing that might be difficult to see coming across from that on the screen is just how much the mathematical level has dropped over the last few years.
A little bit of the photoelectric effect. This is about it. This is about all that we did. The reason this really, really frustrates me is because this is now established stuff. This has been around for 100 years. And what really, it's reality as well. This is, I mean, quantum theory in particular is one of the most well-tested theories there is.
And also I feel incredibly sorry for the students coming in who come from A-level, come from high school with a completely different view of what physics actually is. And then they come here and they get an awful lot of mathematics and they think, I didn't sign up to do a mathematics degree, I signed up to do a physics degree. And we have to continually tell them that maths is the language of physics.
You can read popular books on physics and on cosmology in particular, which doesn't have much maths, but if you then want to actually get into the heart of the subject, you really have to know the maths.
This is where I start getting annoyed with celebrities and whatnot. I was listening to Radio 1 the other day. Nick Grimshaw, who's a Radio 1 DJ in the morning, he's taken over Chris Moyles, which, you know, I'm happy with because Chris Moyles annoys me. But so Nick Grimshaw, but he was going on about, somebody said they did maths or something, and he's going, oh, maths, economics, I don't understand any of that. Oh, no, I don't understand that. Oh, it's really, really hard. And this is common. It's cool to be afraid of maths. And, you know, when people, you know, like on the radio are going on about how cool it is to be afraid of maths, then clearly this is going to seep through society. And then teachers fear putting maths into their physics and syllabuses because, you know, they don't want to frighten off students.
For example, calculus has been ripped out of A-level physics. You know, the fundamental basis of so much of physics.
I mean, I love coming here and talking about physics with you, but when I look at what's written on that board behind you, that scares the life out of me. And if I knew I was going to have to talk about that, I probably wouldn't come here at all. Is there a danger that you're going to scare away potentially excellent physicists of tomorrow by telling them the hard part too early?
But it's not, so yes, absolutely. So if you just went and said, now let's go and prove Fermat's last theorem, you know, in the A-level, and let's introduce you to all this weird and wonderful maths that you need, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, they just need to go into a bit more depth in what they're already doing.
You know, my brother we were talking about Schrodinger's cat, and he just sort of dismissed it as my ridiculous theory. And I think people sort of, I wish it had been my theory, but you know, I think people sort of just think of quantum theory and relativity as being something that you don't really, it's for another world. It's something that, oh, it's too difficult for me, but it's not. It's the way it is in nature. Quantum theory is real. Relativity is real, and it is important for everybody's, you know, daily lives. You know, all the computers and mobile phones are relying on certain aspects of quantum theory. You know, you drive a car, you use a sat nav, you're using relativity, and you might say, okay, well, I don't really care that much about that, but you do care about it when you're in a plane. If it was really sort of put in at at this early stage, you know, people who did A-level physics knew much more about quantum theory and relativity, even the ones that don't go on to study physics at university, then society would have this more embedded in their psyche. Of course, one of the problems is both quantum theory and relativity, they do rely on a lot of maths. And I think it's maths more than anything else that people fear. And that's why, and certainly when we get students coming to Nottingham, the one thing that they tend to struggle with is maths more than physics. And I think perhaps really it's the maths A-levels that have to improve dramatically.
I had this, right? I went to university in 1979. I went down to London and I went to my first maths lesson, and this funny letter I kept appearing. And I thought it was a 1. I thought it just had funny writing. And then I saw this I squared and it was -1. And of course it's the introduction to imaginary numbers, and I'd never come across them. I had no idea. And in fact, I felt like quitting. I thought, okay, if this is lecture 1, what chances have I got? But of course, you go and get a textbook, and you start reading it, and you go through it, and that's part of university. That's self-education. You've just got to go and do it, and if you're prepared to do it, you'll be fine.
So this is In the Dark it's a blog by somebody called Peter Coles, who used to work here in Nottingham. One thing he did some time ago was to put up his O-level paper from 1979. So you can see the effective pressure on the piston is downstrokes average 6/10⁴ pascals. Use this in the data given in lines 10 and 11, blah, 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 blah. If we move down, you can see, again, numbers, little problems, set them out, work out what's going on. Let's compare to a GCSE paper. Again, if I can find the right one. So this is now 2011, Science A, General Certificate of Secondary Education. The diagrams show 4 types of power station. Each power station uses a different energy source to produce electricity. Solar cells, ocean. Match energy sources A, B, C, and D. Now,
even I could do that, Phil.
This is the point. This is the point. You don't have to have done this course to have done that course. And of course, before I get all Daily Mail about this and going, oh, ranting and raving, it's important to note that this is the first question. It's on the foundation tier of this.
It does get harder.
But not substantially harder. Nothing like we saw for the O-level. So you can see what you're doing is a lot of multiple choice, a lot of, matched words A, B, C, and D with the numbers 1 to 4 in the sentence. And this is another problem because now students, this is at, age 15, 16, students are learning that instead of writing things out, what they have to do is plug the words in the sentence. And that again causes huge problems when they get to university.
As much as we want to know about Shakespeare, and what do I know about Shakespeare? Not a great deal, but I know a bit, okay? And I think people who read Shakespeare and are professionally into Shakespeare or whatever should know about quantum theory at the level that I know about Shakespeare and things like that. I think there's almost a fear, an uncoolness almost as well, and you're not cool if you start trying to understand that stuff. It's too weird, it's too hard. No, it's the way it is.
If you'd like to see more from Ed, Phil or Tony, I've put all the interview footage on my extras channel, Nottingham Science, and there are links on the screen. They talk about a lot of stuff not covered in this video, and it's well worth a look if you've got a bit of time on your hands. And if you haven't got a lot of time on your hands, there's always time for a quick pithy minute physics video. Make sure you've checked out Henry's video, his letter to the president. Definitely worth a look.